Right now, I have to stop saying.
Well, we're warmed up, although we're certainly not full. Only teased at happiest hour. We'll talk about it next. This is the DLLS Stars pregame show ahead of Game 4, Stars and Jets, right here on DLLS.
Get it ready, boys.
This is the DLLS Stars pregame show. Our Stanley Cup playoff coverage is brought to you by Bud Light. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy responsibly. And by Happiest Hour, your home base and the best place to catch the NHL playoffs and cheer on the Dallas Stars, just steps away from the AAC. The ultimate spot with 50-plus beers and 40-plus TVs for all the big moments every single game day. Happiest Hour, your favorite spot for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Big welcome in tonight to everybody watching in, both on YouTube, our normal platform, and of course, our newest platform, Victory Plus. Thanks for joining us alongside Craig Ludwig and our producer, John Andersen. I'm Owen Newkirk. Quick reminder that the ALLCITY spring cleaning sale is currently underway, meaning that if you want to get some of the great merchandise that's been around for a bit, you can get anywhere from 30 to 75% off depending on which item you're looking at. Some exclusions do apply. Most of the new Stars shirts that we're debuted for the playoffs are not part of that sale, but check it out. Go to alldls.com and you can find out what's available and get what you need to get. Speaking of on sale, a guy who's always discounted, it's our very own Sam Nestler, who's, of course, not paying attention as we try to welcome him inside the show. Oh, he is on full-on Miro Heiskanen watch. Am I right, Sam?
That's correct. Looking down the tunnel to see when the boys, they're doing some crazy lights behind us right now. So trying to see through that, but just excited to see if 4 comes out on the ice for what.
Well, the big news of the day, for those of you that are just joining us and maybe haven't heard, is Miro Heiskanen is expected to play tonight. He was officially activated from LTIR this afternoon, much earlier than the 4 o'clock Central Time deadline. So the Stars weren't messing around. And Sam, to me, I expect that means that he's playing as he's about walking out now. So is that Jake walking through the tunnel?
There he is, number 4, Miro Heiskanen, on the ice for warm-up behind me at the AAC. I'm just excited to hear this crowd because I was there for Landeskog's return in Denver, and it was incredible. So excited to see how that works here.
So obviously Miro will be playing. The curiosity is who's going to be coming out for him, and there's a lot of talk about the Stars possibly going with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen to try to allow Alex Petrovic to stay in the lineup. I'm assuming that he would be the first guy just on the pecking order, but he and Bishop have been really good. So, Sam, we heard a lot of 11 and 7 talk this morning.
Yes, that's an option. Pete did not commit either way. I think the plan here is obviously there's 2 ways you can do it, really. Like, you can go with the standard 12 forwards, and if that's the case, you probably expect Colin Blackwell as the one who comes out up front. And then the other option is 11-7, which I know Sean's big on. I'm not normally a big fan of it. However, with this team and the way they're playing and the way a certain number 96 is playing for them, they basically start double shifting after the first period anyway. So it's not as much of a detriment. The one thing I know is Lutz talks about is it's tough for defensemen to get into routine if that is the case. So we'll see here tonight. We'll see lines in a few minutes. But either way, it's just exciting. I think the big question is, I think for the Dallas team, they're not going to push in Miro before he's ready, right? If he's playing in here tonight, which all signs are pointing to, he's ready to go. And while Pete said he's not going to play 30 minutes, I've seen this story before. And when he comes back in and Miro Heiskanen is ready, you play Miro Heiskanen as much as you can.
Sam, you have a interesting perspective on this game, particularly because of how important it is. Are you okay?
Yeah, squirrel.
Okay. I just want to make sure that you weren't like having some sort of seizure or convulsions or something with all the laser lights. But The Stars obviously got the win in Game 3 that they were looking for. They have a 2-1 series lead. A win tonight would give them a stranglehold. Doesn't mean the series is over, but they put themselves in a really good spot. Knowing that, just like in Game 2, the Jets are kind of feeling like they have to play for their playoff lives.
Yeah, and that's the situation. In this type of series, you can't go down two wins. You just can't. And so for Dallas, like we mentioned in the pregame show, it was a different feeling for them winning Game 1, where they had a chance to sweep the 2 games in Winnipeg instead of trying to just play catch up and get right back in the series. Now we're flipped right on the other side of it, and we're looking at what we were looking at in Denver last series in Game 4, which is Winnipeg's got to win this game. You can't come back from 3-1. We've seen it. We've seen teams do it, but for how tight these two teams are, the margin of error, as Pete DeBoer talked about, it's going to be really hard to do. So this is going to be a very desperate team. And for me, one thing that I thought is really interesting is Pete DeBoer talks about the leadership and the honesty of the group and the criticism they're able to give each other without any issue, and just moving forward from there. That's come into play a lot when they've lost the game and had to respond. I think it comes into play even more when you need to make sure you don't have the drop off in play, because it's pretty easy to get desperate when your whole team's desperate and need to win a game. But when it comes into a series where you're up, you can feel really good after winning one game. Tyler Seguin told me specifically that you can go from feeling like you're never going to win again to feeling like you're going to win a Stanley Cup with just one win. So for them to do that, it's going to be huge for the leadership group. It's going to be huge for everyone to come in and really preach that tonight, to not have a drop-off in their play and allow Winnipeg to jump right back in the series.
The last thing you had was a pile of storylines when Miro was out, and I'm guessing that starts with Thomas Harley stepping in and filling that void.
Yeah, Pete DeBoer talked about, I think it was yesterday at practice, he talked about how if you look at all the stuff that this team did to overcome the injuries, it's just incredible. You go up top to bottom. Obviously the forwards, we know what Rantanen had to do. We know what certain guys had to do up front. Then you look at the defense. You got Thomas Harley, who took over the power play. You got Harley's playing crazy number of minutes. He's being pushed back into penalty killing duty, even though that's something they said they didn't really want to do with him playing both. Esa Lindell is taking on extra workload, which we all know he's fine with. Cody Cece's taking a step up. He's been huge on the penalty kill, and he's been great with Esa Lindell. Then you look at Hellebuyck, who's taken a step up. You look at the third pairing that, was kind of a big question mark with the guys that, we didn't know a lot about. Official coming in his first playoff experience, and Petrovic coming in after not really playing with Dallas all season. Every person took a step up, and the stories you can go through, you just can't write it. The stuff they had to do to not only secure a solid seed, give themselves a good chance, give themselves home ice advantage, and then knock off, let's be honest, a Stanley Cup contender and one of the top Stanley Cup contenders in the first round in Colorado. It's just really amazing to see what they've been able to do, and it's going to be really cool to see them get some reinforcements here tonight.
All right, Sam, turn around, go check those line combos. Let's see what happens, and we'll look for your message so we can report it here on the pregame show.
All right, boys, go to the game.
There he is, Sam Nestler, live from the AAC. All right, lads, let's go back to the beginning of this. Miro Heiskanen, he's playing tonight, right? This is the final thing. Like, there's no way he's going out for warm-ups to test it out. That I actually saw that take today of, we'll see in the warm-up if he gets through it. I'm going, if Miro Heiskanen is not determined to play before the warm-up starts, he's not playing. So clearly he's in. There's this, we'll find out in a minute, but there's the speculation that they might go with 11-7, and I don't think it's about worrying that Heiskanen can't get through a game. I think it's more about the idea that they don't want to take any of those guys out of the lineup the way the 6D that have been playing in his absence have been.
I would be concerned. I'm not concerned. I think there may be some kind of reservation knowing that Miro gets through that a little bit. Again, you were talking about guys that do or don't like it. I've never met a defenseman that likes
Not
it,
one.
unless you're that number 7, number 8, right? Because then you get some shifts in there. But your regular 6 generally don't enjoy it, because the biggest thing, it takes you out of a rhythm. I mean, you get to a certain rhythm. And again, if you're going to take somebody out of the lineup of the Stars lineup, and I think you mentioned Petro's name, it usually points at one of those two guys. And for my money, those two have been the steadiest of the bunch. And
that's
you know what you get with them. And one guy delivers a hit every single time, and Petro's just been solid. So it's probably the only way you can go. Now the question becomes, what happens if there's unfortunately, a forward gets hurt? Now you're kind of running like an American League or a Central League, I guess it's East Coast League, where you got 9, you know. So
3 lines.
But again, it's the worst case scenario is Miro. If he's Miro, he'll go up and play forward too. You know, I mean, I don't know how you hold him back, but I do think that you take his temperature throughout the first period, and you know, I don't know if I would start him. I would try to, you know, throw him in there and then let him get a steady diet of a regular rotation. As far as I heard some people saying today, like, yeah, and Heiskanen's going back on the power play. I don't know if I'd be doing that. I mean, I think that Thomas has been doing a pretty good job of that. You know what you're getting out of him. But again, he's your best defenseman. So if you think that you can lean on him and throw him into, you know, maybe 22, 23, 24 minutes, which he's going to be bucking at that. He's not going to be happy with it. But I'm sure that every time you come back to the bench in every period, they're going to go in and they're going to check his temperature, see how you're feeling.
So Miro Heiskanen suffered a knee injury against Vegas on January 28th. Mark Stone, of course, diving, really reckless, kind of silly play, and he had surgery following that. It has been since that day, even before the actual surgery that he had, just over 100 days, 3.5 months. Which, to me, anything that's serious enough to have a knee surgery, now we don't know exactly what type of surgery. The Stars have never said MCL, ACL, you name it. They have not said any details. But regardless, Luds, 3.5 months is a very, very short window to recover from that kind of a surgery.
Yeah, but like you said, you don't know what it was. We don't know what it was. It may not have been anything really serious because, you know, they originally thought he'd be back by the end of the year. You know, near the end of the season, beginning of the playoffs, then it gets pushed out. So I think that possibly the original prognosis wasn't that it was that bad. And then maybe you get in there and then they say he's on the regular schedule and he's on, but then that timeline kept pushed back, which I'd be totally happy with because, again, like I've said all along, it's more important that it's for his future and what's going down the road because he's going to be a big part of this organization. So obviously, what the biggest key is, the doctor signed off on this. It
has to be, right?
The whole time we've been doing this thing, I'm like, until a doctor signs his name on this thing or, you know, goes into the coaching staff and says, now he's good to go. I don't think it has anything to do with on the ice. I think it's more about pictures and seeing that it's healing and doing whatever it's supposed to do.
They gave him a day off yesterday. They had a scheduled day off. That's what Pete called it. So he didn't skate during the optional yesterday. He was out there this morning, and Pete said, well, you know, I anticipate he'll play as long as he gets through this skate okay.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that's saying in case there's some freak accident and he got hurt in the skate, because I'm not sure there's any point, unless they're worried about some soreness, of why they would worry about an optional morning skate as the determining factor, right?
That would be my thing, is I don't think they're worried about, if you're worried about soreness today,
he's not playing.
You wouldn't be risking his health moving forward. So I just think take the day off and we'll find out what it's like tomorrow after, you know, we've talked about with Sagan and all these guys that come back and you got to go through contact and all this kind of, there is no contact, but regardless of that, he hasn't pushed himself in practice like he's going to push himself tonight. And it's just going to come natural to him. He's going to jump back in here. And I would think within 2 or 3 shifts of him getting out there, obviously getting back up to speed, and that's not up to speed, but for him, every shift he goes through, his confidence will grow. And I would be asking him, I want you to get out there, skate, do this for the first 5 shifts or so, and then now you can kind of turn him loose and let's go.
We'll find out if this is actually the case or not, because we don't know. But actually, Leah beat Sam. I'm sure Sam is coming sooner, but she's reporting that it doesn't look like the Stars are doing 11-7. It looks like Ilya Lyubushkin might be a healthy scratch tonight because he didn't go through line rushes. Lindell Ceci, Harley Heiskanen, Bishop Petrovic. And then, Luds, up front, they have the top 2 lines as you would expect. Granlund, Hintz, Rantanen, Marchment, Duchesne, and Sagan. Ben Steele-Dodonov, Robertson, Johnston, Blackwell. Thoughts?
Well, this is where I had him. So I had him there anyways.
Yep.
And I, unfortunately, you know, that's kind of where I was leaning.
But how about, but here's the thing. If you were, the only thing is, in my question, if they're going to go with 6 defensemen.
First off, that's saying that they have confidence in where everything is at with Miro.
Right.
That they're not doing the same thing.
But back to your earlier point, is there any reason for them to put him in the lineup up 2-1 in the series if they didn't have confidence, if there was any doubts?
Well, there is and there isn't, because this is a huge game.
It is.
In my opinion, to be able to knock off the team, that finished on the top of the league, that I think is a really good playoff kind of Stanley Cup contending team, with one exception. That's the guy that has to play on the road for him. So I'm even surprised that he played. I'll be honest with you. I thought maybe they were going to throw Comrie in there for the road. But regardless, I really
didn't go quite there yet.
I swear I would have absolutely thought about it. But they're saying that he's our guy. And
if you
that's
do
cool.
that, doesn't that just torch the confidence of the team?
Wait, what's going on in Edmonton? They seem to be rolling with two guys.
Yeah, but neither one of those guys is a Vezina, soon to be Vezina.
Yeah, but
winner.
he's proven it. He hasn't won in 8 games or 9 games on the road.
Yes,
he can't play on the road.
That goes back to last
year. It would
year,
only
yes.
be to see, because Comrie came in and he was pretty good when he did play coming down the stretch. Now, but what I will say is, going back to Miro, I just think that's the confidence of everything that they have in him, because I don't think that without going the 7, so what it tells you is they're not really going to ease him into this thing. And I don't think they expect to be able to ease him into it. But we'll see where it goes. I mean, as far as up front, I just think there's shuffling that's going on.
Well, we have a lot more to talk about, but let's do that after the break. DLS Stars Pregame Show continues in a moment. Actually, we're just going to keep on going right here on DLLS.
Speaking of Bud Light, Ben's here. He brought iced tea, pizza, salad, no Bud Light. These are not chilled down. So we need to chill them down. Stars fans, what's up? Enjoy the game. That should be pretty easy, so don't overthink it. What to wear? Easy. Strap on that lucky Dallas Stars. I put the black jersey on tonight. That's what I do. Don't know what to serve your friends? Just pick up some pizza, grab some Bud Light, stock the fridge up. See? Just that easy. Just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Remember, drink it responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light, St. Louis, Missouri.
Let's talk about Sleeper for a minute. Best fantasy league platform out there. Put your puck or your ball knowledge to the test to pick whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week, each game, you name it. Tonight, we're going to go to John's game picks in just a moment. Looking forward to seeing what he has in store for us with Sleeper. The more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. Stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time, so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Stars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply to any contest. Doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. And, of course, currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Here's John.
And Sleeper does have a pick on sale tonight if you can get it in the next 20 minutes or so. Kyle Connor to record more than 2.5 shots on goal. He has recorded such in 4 of his last 5 games, so we'll start with there. Mikko Rantanen, the Moose, has recorded more than 1.5 points in 5 of his last 6 playoff games, and we'll finish it out with Esa Lindell, pun intended, pun not intended, actually. I outdid myself there. More than 2.5 blocked shots. $10 wins the people $79.13, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, John. Luds, before we get into the details, I was just reminded by somebody, it was Jeff Heath is the GOAT in our chat, that we thought it wasn't going to matter, that we were going to go 11-7. Well, if indeed, we'll have to wait till the lineup cards are officially turned in. There you go. GM Ben helping out Luds with a cold one. So if indeed Ilya Lyubushkin is the healthy scratch for Miro to come back in, John, can you play your air horn sound for just a minute?
If I can find it. I redid all this stuff.
Would you like me to do it for you? Oh.
Luds, do you recall our showmate, our good buddy Sean Shapiro, saying that if somebody other than Alex Petrovic was scratched for Miro Heiskanen, he owes us a $200 super chat?
I do not remember that, but I remember saying that he'd be foolish if that happened.
Well, guess what?
What's worse, him being called foolish or having to pay $200?
I think the $200.
Has he done it yet?
No, but it hasn't happened yet.
Well, does it be now or post game?
It would probably be post game.
Why?
Because we have to wait till the lineup cards are in to make it official. Hey.
Well, if Lyubushkin's out, who do you think is going to be the 6th defenseman?
I mean, it's not going to be Matt Dumba tonight.
Maybe Brendan Smith is coming back.
You never know. All right, Luds. Pete DeBoer talked about some of the 11-7 stuff. He really played it up today. Maybe a little bit of gamesmanship from the Stars.
Yeah, and I hear he doesn't do that. They knew right off the bat.
I don't think that Jim Nill is big into that stuff. I'm not saying that DeBoer doesn't.
No way that Again, I'm happy. I mean, I gotta say I was like 90% you to do that, but Pete has done things that sometimes. But yeah, I'm so happy that they didn't do that. Again, I just live on. I just believe that rhythm for forward lines and everything. I just think it's so important, and it just to me again I go back to confidence that Miro's good to go. That's what it is.
Okay, let's talk about a couple of things from the Jets. First and foremost, some X's and O's. Scott Arniel was quoted this morning at Morning Skate saying, "We don't want to trade rush chances with Dallas," basically saying that we need to make them defend first. When our forecheck, he said, our forecheck needs to be good. We need to force the Stars to work in their zone.
That's why. Remember when people were asking about why Dallas? Or no, it was a reporter that asked Pete that got them all pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing that reporter had something to do with Winnipeg Jets. I have no idea.
It was not a Dallas. It wasn't a Stars reporter.
But you could see they weren't getting any traction getting out of their zone. It's almost like what Winnipeg believes that they have to do or can do is kind of play old school. Where if you don't have a chance to get into forecheck, we're going to make you go through at least 4 guys through the neutral zone. They keep their gaps good. And because the dangerous part about Dallas has always been, since Pete DeBoer has been coaching this team, is how they enter. And they enter with speed, and they create their chances. Now when you have to go through numbers, and if you get a little greedy where you think you can make plays, they feel that they could probably turn those pucks over and translate them into scoring chances going the other way. So I don't know how aggressive they will be. If they can get in on pucks and finish checks and things like that, especially on Miro Heiskanen, that's going to be important for the Winnipeg team, is to be able to try to slow him down and make him work to get his rhythm back into the game. And I think that's where a partner is important also, because there has to be times as a partner for Miro now when there's a puck dumped into his corner, and forwards also, you have to hold up. You have to get in front of people because his name is circled on the board, and they're going to say, hasn't been playing for the last 3.5 months, no different than Morrissey should have been for the other team in Scheifele. You have to make it difficult on them. So I think your partner can come over, little interference, let him get back, let him get his head up. Same thing for forwards coming through the neutral zone. Hold up their forecheckers.
What do you think about the fact that the Jets were so upset about the Alex Petrovic goal decision in Game 3? It was a long delay. We've talked about it a fair bit. 7+ minutes, almost all of Freebird. That was the big talking point. But the bigger concern to me was how they responded after the announcement. They gave up a goal less than a minute later to Mikko Rantanen, and it looked like they were rattled and kind of crumbled after that.
Well, they lost their coverage in that right away. But I would say that even when Scott Arniel, after the call was made, to go over and start complaining about the call and pacing back and forth, and they had him on cameras. He wasn't happy. To me, that sends the wrong message to your players. I mean, I think the message has got to be, and it lasted, 6-7 minutes or whatever it was?
Yeah.
But your message has got to be, regardless of either way this call goes, our next shift, and then our next shift, and then our next shift, we're going to get back into this. And I think it kind of backfired on them, because I think that can carry over to the players. And now all of a sudden you hear the coach complaining about it, because they know that the coach is probably getting word from downstairs or somebody else, and they're going, this isn't a goal. Like, it's not going to count. And then he starts complaining about it. Then all of a sudden a few players will start complaining. Now your focus is gone. So what does he become on the bench?
He becomes a distraction.
There you go. So when your coaches become distractions, which I'm not saying that their players were all bent out of shape with the coach, but I just think you have to be in a playoff game, an important playoff game, which this is even more important for the Winnipeg Jets tonight. You have to have your group ready to go out for the next shift. Regardless.
So I'm just skimming through a couple of things. As I look at the Jets lines, they're exactly how they've been the last few games. They haven't changed. So, Luds, what's the thought process for Arniel and the Jets? Here's their forward group. They have lost 2 of 3. And look, this is a big deal for them. If they lose tonight, they will be down 3-1 in the series. They'll be facing potentially as many as 3 elimination games, 2 of which with the Stars not feeling that same pressure. They're going with the same D group as they did in games 2 and 3, because obviously Morrissey missed the first game. But what are your thoughts about
Josh Morrissey? Yeah, he's our guy.
Is it better to keep it the same group and say we believe in this group, or is it better to say we needed to make a change because they still have not won a road game in this playoffs run?
What change can they make that's going to put any spark to that team? Their player, they had success all year long because that team played a certain way. They defended well, and the most important part was their goaltender had a season-long goals against, I think, of like 2.1, and he hasn't won on the road this year. So right now, they're praying to what was the name of St. Louis's little
Joe Boo.
Okay, they should be playing to Joe Boo that their goaltender has a game tonight, because that's their concern. I'm telling you right now, the players are in there, they're thinking about it too. They're going, is our goalie going to be there for us? And and that's why I say,
and that's not something they thought about all year long.
No, and that's why it would not have surprised me if they had the other guy go in, only because the other guy went in at the end of the year. He had some good games for him. They played hard for him, and you would put you'd put Hellebuyck back in once he gets home. But to move this, so that all being said, he may have a short leash tonight. Like the goaltender actually may, because you can't let this game get away from you. But I think that they do not want to, just like anything else. I think you said it. They don't want to exchange chances with this team.
No,
I think they are going to play a defensive kind of game, and I think they're going to wait for their chances. When they can create them, they'll create them. But especially what's going on between the pipes, we've got to keep things to the perimeter. And I would be telling the defensemen, everybody else, stop, because right now they're trying to stop the shots that are coming in, and they're being more of a deterrent for your goaltender because they're trying to stop the shot. Sometimes what happens when you're losing and one player is not playing well, you start doing more than you should. I did this with Eddie Belfour, and Eddie finally said to me, Luds, you don't need to go down for those shots. Just let me have them. I can get them. So sometimes you try to do too much to make things, come out in your favor. So, but if their defensemen play the way that they did during the year, where they seal people to the outside, and Hellebuyck is able to come out and challenge and kind of get a good feeling about himself, we may see a different game tonight.
We have a super chat available, which obviously is in spirit of tonight's game. Marshall the First, that's Marshall Second's dad, who we met at Cosm, no less. A Heiskanen 99. Let's go, Miro. Thank you, Marshall. Luds, is there any thought about, look, Miro Heiskanen, when he's healthy and at his peak, he's one of the best defensemen, maybe best five in the league. So there's really no doubt about he comes in and makes the team better. But I've been refreshing the club playing roster. It has not yet gone for the Stars. I know who the Jets starters are. They're going to start with the line of Tanev, Barron, and Appleton. So clearly throwing their fourth line out there.
Send the message right away.
Right?
That's what they're going to do. Yeah.
Now, the question I have, though, is if it is Lyubushkin getting scratched, he's been a penalty killer all year, but Cody Ceci has elevated and stepped into that number 2 role with Esa Lindell.
You only need 2 other ones because Esa doesn't come off the ice.
Right. So is that a concern? Does Miro kill penalties tonight? First game in 3.5 months.
Miro didn't even kill penalties when he was healthy.
Correct.
So he's not going to kill
them
tonight.
So you don't think that there's any concern of not having Lyubushkin in the lineup? Would you have Bischel or Petrovic there if you need him?
Well, Petrovic. Well, either one of them. Both of those guys have earned the right. Now, when we saw Bischel, when we saw both of those guys near the end of the year, last couple games, it didn't turn out well. But that's then and this is now. I'm sure Alain Nasruddin, the D coach, has worked with them on their PK and all those other situations. They have to, because there's going to be guys in some of those guys times when those guys are in the box. So, no, I just think that Esa's there. Thomas Harley can kill penalties. Thomas can do it, and, CC can do it. And if you got to get Bischel and Petrovic to go out there, and if you need them to go out there for the last 20 seconds of it, they'll be fine.
Any thought about, I know the order was different, and that's probably in deference to Jamie, but Ben Steele, Dodonov, that's essentially your fourth line. Jamie Benn on the fourth line right now, merited because of his play lately?
Yeah. I don't know what other reason it would be. But I also think that I think you're going to see Pete. Now you're getting at that time of the year, and you're getting important in every game that you play and every round you go. You can be moving guys around. You don't have to even everything out here. You don't have to go and look at the game sheet and have everybody be at 14 minutes, all the forwards. So we're already seeing that with Mikko. Mikko's, and again, I'm happy that they keep on throwing him out there because he can do it. So you may see some juggling. It wouldn't surprise me either. Can you throw Jamie out there to kill some penalties? Because what happened in the beginning of the year, you go right back to the beginning when everything was changing and Jamie was going to move down a little bit. What they did is they had Jamie out there on the power play in front of the net. Now that's obviously been taken away because the addition of Rantanen, which cuts down on his minutes. So I think that you'll find that Pete may try to find a few more minutes for Jamie.
I noticed one more change. The Jets are making one personnel move. Colin Miller out, Luke Schenn in.
Well, that's heavy. That's weight. I mean, you've got and I like Colin Miller. I really do. I like the way the guy plays. I know he's probably a 5-6 at best. But I think when you bring Schenn back in, did Schenn have an injury? Did he go down in one of the games?
No, I think he was okay. I think
healthy?
they just decided to change after losing game one. They brought Miller in. And
yeah, but I think again, it just basically saying we're bringing more weight into the lineup. We're going to be a little heavier too.
Something to keep an eye on. We still don't know. The Stars part hasn't gone in. So as of this moment,
What's
live,
Sam doing?
We don't know if Hellebuyck
Isn't Sam sitting in Miro's locker?
He should be.
Him?
He should be right in his pocket.
Well, I don't understand what his job is.
So we'll keep an eye on that. And of course, enjoy the game. It's on ESPN. And I got to get over there because they're going to start in like 12 minutes. So I better hurry.
They're not going to miss you.
For Craig Ludwig, for John Andersen, and of course for Sam Nestler, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks so much for joining on the pregame show. Thanks for those of you, by the way, that hung out with us this happiest
John's
hour today.
laughing at his own little bits up there.
That's okay.
I'm laughing at our boss.
Is that your boss? I thought that was you.
You thought that was me?
Yeah, I thought that was you. It sounded like you. Well, it was kind of a squeaky voice.
We'll see you in the postgame, everybody.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys.
I have no idea.
We all silly like the mayor.